Welcome back to the show, everyone. Joining me now is founder of A Night at the Movies. This is a very unique take on getting out there and seeing a movie. It's not what you expect, so I'm going to welcome my guest, Theo Siegel. Hello.
Hi, Bree.
How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
I love this. Classic films, you bring them to life with behind-the-scenes stories.
I do.
Trivia, and the big screen experience.
I do.
My goodness, this is a new take on watching a movie.
It's not about movies as we know, with these days of 1,000 channels and streaming. Everyone, and I do it too, everyone just wants to watch, whatever they can at their convenience. But when movies were made, the purpose was to see a movie in a big theater with a large crowd of people to get the experience of crying together, laughing together, being shocked by the shark in Jaws, everyone jumping at that particular moment. And there's nothing like 400 people jumping or laughing as opposed to you just being by yourself or with your mate or friend watching something on TV.
Something I have never even thought about.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So that was the real experience.
Yes.
Of like going to the theater.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Today we have big blockbuster movies for the summertime. We have Marvel movies. We have other big blockbusters coming out, and those are still very popular, as we know. And seeing, something like The Avengers on a big screen with super sound and 500 people is quite different than watching it on your TV.
Especially on your iPad phone.
Exactly, or your iPhone, exactly.
So take us back to A Night at the Movies. What is it all about? Why did you want to start it?
Okay, so I do movies from the 30s to the 90s, and what we do is before we show the movie in its entirety, I will give a PowerPoint slide presentation, and it's not just kind of me droning like a professor. And we'll talk about everything about that movie. Its development by Hollywood, its script, its casting process, its production, and its reception at the time, and why we are still watching these movies today. So we'll get a context of how these movies were made, what the filmmakers were trying to get across, what the actors were trying to get across in their performances, and then we'll watch the examples as we see them. After we've talked about them, we'll watch them, and then when we conclude, we'll have a Q&A and a discussion about what we've just seen in an in-depth conversation.
So I would imagine that makes the movie watching experience way more in depth.
Yes, exactly.
Because now you've got this awareness of the specific details that you've just discussed prior to the show.
Exactly. So we'll give an example of the scene. Look for this scene here. You're going to see this thing that happens. The reason that happened is so-and-so. And then when you watch it, you're like, I never knew that. I've seen these movies a lot of times, but when I saw that scene, I got a new insight into what was happening when they did it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like going to a foreign country and walking around a city by yourself versus having a tour guide.
Exactly.
You get so much more out of the experience when you have a tour guide who's telling you what to look for.
Yeah, and this is considered me your tour guide to these movies that we're going to watch. And we'll talk a little bit about the Philadelphia story, which will be Monday, June 30th, and also our August movie, To Kill a Mockingbird, to get you enticed to hear more information about them.
So why do you think that these films, especially the ones back in the 30s all the way through, why are they relevant to our day?
They're not stuck in their time. Even though Philadelphia Story was 1940, the humor is still fresh today because it's about character. It's not jokes that when you were alive in 1940, you may miss some of the references. Some of those references will be in many movies of that time period, but why these stand the test of time is they're still enjoyable, they're still funny, they're still dramatic, they still make us cry. A lot of people say they don't make movies like they used to, but what we have to realize is several factors. One, they had 10 studios then, we have 5 today. They made 30 movies a year. They're lucky if we make 6 a studio year. And they made so many movies that we don't remember the movies that were not classics that are shown on Turner Classic Movies in a 24-hour rotation. We just remember the classics, and people don't make movies to last 50, 60 years. They make them for their audience of the time. So Philadelphia Story wasn't made for an audience of the 2000s. They wouldn't have the hubris to think, this is going to last 60 years. I'm going to make a movie that's going to last forever. They just make it so that an audience at that time can enjoy it. So there are great movies today, and there were great movies of the past as well.
And every once in a while, one will surface, right?
Exactly.
And it will, like, one that comes to mind for me is Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that, for me, will be an all-time classic.
Yeah, there are movies like Princess Bride that people love, and you know, Jaws is celebrating its 50th anniversary, which was an incredible piece of work by Spielberg.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. Was that filmed in Nantucket?
No, Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard. I knew it was somewhere over there. I'm heading there Sunday, so. So we touched on this a little bit, but I want to kind of drive home the point here because I think that it's really important, especially in this community, for people to get out and socialize.
Yes.
So how would you compare going to the theater, you know, sitting there through your presentation, participating in the trivia and watching the movie versus sitting at home and being by yourself?
Well, for several factors, like you said, this is about connecting with people. And like we said, movies were made to be seen on a screen with an audience. Even today, I mean, exhibitors are talking about that shrinking. Will we have this in 40 years? Will we have movie theaters? Because the audience keeps shrinking. But there is nothing like that experience of sharing with people. It's like going to a Broadway play. If you were just one person watching a Broadway play, it doesn't have quite the same impact as the audience experience that you're sharing together. Mm-hmm. So if you're watching To Kill a Mockingbird, you're going to be moved to tears by scenes in this great movie about justice and racism and Gregory Peck's phenomenal performance and the cast of a novel by Harper Lee, her only novel, which is a masterpiece, won the Pulitzer Prize and is taught to this day in high school literature classes. So it's that experience that we're talking about. It's the shared communal experience, and we want people to get out of their rooms and enjoy this and go somewhere, do something, and maybe, you know, with your friends, or maybe go by yourself and meet with another friend that loves the movies like you do.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be way more memorable also.
Yes,
because
completely.
You know, I know for me, when I fall asleep to a movie, it's like, whatever.
Right.
But going to the theater, it's much more of an experience and a destination.
And there's popcorn and refreshments.
And there's popcorn. I forgot about that part. So how can folks get tickets for the upcoming Monday, June 30th? This is the Philadelphia story.
So you can go to the website for Laguna Woods Village. You can also call the number that's on the screen here, 949-597-4289. I believe tickets cost $5. Nothing, because you go to a movie, it's $15. So it's really, you know, worth buying the ticket.
Can you give us a sneak peek at some of the trivia?
I sure can. So right now we see
side?
on the screen Philadelphia Story, made in 1940. In 1938, Katharine Hepburn made a movie called Bringing Up Baby with Cary Grant. It was a screwball classic today, but it was a big failure. And movie theater owners said, why are we paying these stars so much money? And they labeled certain stars box office poison, Katharine Hepburn being one of them. She could not get work in Hollywood for 2 years. She had a deal with RKO Pictures. They would not put her in a movie because of this label. She took it easy in stride. A friend of hers, Philip Barry, thought, I want to write a play for her to bring her back to Broadway. He consulted with her. He wrote the Philadelphia Story as a Broadway play. It was a big hit. Hollywood then came calling and wanted to make it into a movie. She bought the rights to the play and said, if you want to make the movie, I got to star in it. I have to be able to say who's the cast, who the director is. They wanted to make it so badly, they gave her that power. When the movie came out in 1940, it was a huge hit, and she was never labeled box office poison again.
What was the role that she got that label from?
It was from Bringing Up Baby from 1938. So.
Why do you think it was?
It did not succeed. It was really crazy comedy by Howard Hawks, the director, and he thought everyone was crazy in the movie. Today, we have reassessed that movie and consider it one of her best and one of the greatest screwball comedies ever made. But audiences did not shine to it at that time, but they do today.
And who was the other actor that happened to?
It was like Greta Garbo. There were other actors, Joan Crawford, on this list.
Wow. I was going to say, what a piece of history we get to go and see. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Theo, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us
My
today.
pleasure, and I hope people come and I can talk to them live and they can introduce themselves.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, folks, get out there and see it Monday, June 30th. Philadelphia story. You're watching This Day on Village TV. We'll be back after these messages.